Now, it's difficult to exaggerate the level of turbulence that is taking place in Nigeria's troubled river state. There's been more crisis than peace in that region for decades, much of it driven and fueled by mercenary politicians who switch sides faster than a spinning coin if it suits their purpose. They've taken their countrymen and women on a breathtaking journey through corruption and violence to a dark and bleak underworld that is far from the progress and development they were elected to bring. In the face of their transgressions, the shadow over River State grows ever darker as Wike and his loyalists, in typically pugnacious form, drive a coach and horses through what should be Governor Fubara's turf, the mounting cost of their actions there for all to see. Meanwhile, an irresolute, utterly gormless national leadership in both the PDP and the APC looks on obliquely as the political barrel in River State becomes ever more rotten. And if the biggest apple in the barrel is rotten, what hope is there for the seedlings? Well, in a moment, I'll be joined in the studio by the lawyer, Jesutega Onokpasa, who's a member of the APC Publicity Committee and was a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, by Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper, Jega, and by the public policy analyst, Chibuzo Okereke. But first, for the latest update, I'm joined on the line from the River State capital, Port Harcourt, by Arise correspondent Andy Omano. Andy, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's start with the news that we heard a few hours ago. I think you brought us that news, the resignation of the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in River State, Professor Zaccheaus Adanga, and how it might be connected to the dots of the current political crisis in the state.
Oh, thank you very much, Charles. I must say that prologue is quite captivating, and I did expect less. Yes, Professor Dangos Azango has resigned, and like you rightly pointed out in your prologue, he did say that he resigned as a result. He resigned as a result of due to personal reasons, and nobody for now has been able to actually put a finger on what led to his resignation. But I will want to say that it will not be far-fetched from the turbulent political situation that we have in River State right now, starting with the October 30th bombing of the hallowed chambers of the House of Assembly. Remember, Professor Zaccheaus Adanga is a professor of law who got appointed as Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, River State, during the administration of the immediate past Governor Nyesom Wike, who is today the incumbent Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. So there's been permutations that probably the respected law lecturer would have decided to throw in the towel, not wanting to be enmeshed in this crisis between the man who got him appointed in the first instance and the one who inherited him. But the man had told us, that is the professor, I should say Charles, had told us that he resigned for personal reasons and he wished the incumbent governor a very successful tenure in his first outing.
Okay, and Andy, you also brought us that piece of news earlier about the sitting earlier today of a faction of the State House of Assembly in which I understand they passed bills. I mean, what are the implications of that?
Well, yes, they did start today, early hours of today, but today, they, as usual, they sat twice before the House of Assembly complex was brought down yesterday. But today's sitting, Charles, I must inform those who are not privy to that information at this point that they sat in the auditorium of their quarters, the legislators' quarters, somewhere off Aba Road. Aba Port Harcourt Road is a very popular road. It's a major road running across the Port Harcourt city, and that particular legislators' quarters is very close to the INEC office here in Port Harcourt. That was where 25 legislators who are sympathetic, should I say sympathetic, or are aligned with the immediate governor of this state, that is the person of Wike, sat this morning. And they did, you know, passed 2 bills into law. The first is the House of Assembly Financial Autonomy Bill, and the second being the Local Government Autonomy Bill. And after the passage of the bill, the speaker of that section, whom the court had said should should not parade himself as such for now, in the person of Martin Samehule, did say that there was the need for that House Financial Autonomy Bill to be put in place as quickly as possible, so as for the House to be able to oversee whatever funds that comes its way for way of prudence, and so that those are the 2 bills that were passed. They also went ahead, Charles, I must say, to pronounce that that particular auditorium where they sat today would for now serve as the hallowed chambers of any of their sitting between now and when the House of Assembly complex that was pulled down yesterday would be reconstructed. And so these were some of the fallouts of the sitting of the 25 lawmakers, I should say, loyal to the FCT Minister, Wike, today in Port Harcourt.
So clearly the news and the legal situation that they're in didn't arise. I mean, most people believe, and according to the Constitution, they lose their seats if they defect, depending, of course, on the circumstances. But you mentioned there that there were 27 originally, but 2 of them have apparently rowed back. Can you tell us more about that, briefly?
Okay, here, the situation at hand is, as at yesterday, the rumor mill was agog, Charles, that 2 had reneged and beat a hasty retreat back. But as at this morning, we got another piece of information, one, that one of the lawmakers is of the Labour Party, and so he initially had nothing to do with the movement of the 25, and the 27. And very, very unfortunately, before this political turbulence commenced, one of the lawmakers representing one of the constituencies from the Ogoni ethnic nationality passed on. And so we have one late lawmaker and one who is not of the PDP before they moved en masse to the opposition or Progressives Congress. And there is another adjunct to that particular information. There is a lady in the House representing one of the constituencies in Okereke. We are told that before this crisis started brewing, she had obtained permission, she has sought permission to travel out of the country for medication. And so as we speak, that lawmaker is not with these 25 that are today still prosecuting what is going on. Just this afternoon, his media aide came out with a press release saying that his principal is not and cannot be considered to be part of the 25 now who are in the immediate past governor's camp, because her consent, she has not appended a signature to whatever is going on now. That would only happen when she returns and she decides to run with this 25 or decide to stay aloof. Charles, that's the latest concerning your last question.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, and very comprehensive information you're giving us there. But just very briefly, Andrew, because we're almost out of time, and I've got to get two questions in. The first one is, what sense do you get of where public opinion in Rivers State lies as the fire of this political crisis continues to burn? I mean, do they want the former Governor Nyesom Wike for a third term?
Right. That's a very good question, Charles. Obviously not. From the feelers we are getting here, the people of Rivers State and every resident of this state want peace in Rivers State. The people here long for development. The people here want the incumbent governor to be allowed a breather for him to be able to dispense the dividends of democracy, like Nigeria politicians would always want to use that expression, to dispense the dividends of democracy to the Rivers people. They want the incumbent governor, whom they said is a young man, to come build on what his predecessor had done, that if they do have any misunderstanding at all, it should not linger to this point. And they are already calling on the opinion molders and elders of Rivers State. They are saying not PDP elders. They are calling on the entire elders of Rivers State, a cosmopolitan state, a state where you have some of the best brain, a state that had early contact with the white men, to come do the expected so that Rivers State can really, assume its desired pride of place among the committee of states in Nigeria. Charles.
Andy, I was going to ask you one more question, but I'm told rather sadly that we're out of time. But thank you very much indeed for bringing us up to date. Andy Omano is a RISE correspondent. He was talking to me there from the Rivers State capital, Port Harcourt. Well, for a further assessment of the political situation in Rivers State, I'm joined now in the studio, well, from our off-site studio, first of all, by the lawyer Jesutega Onokpasa, who's a member of the APC Publicity Committee and was a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, by Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper Mahmood Jega, and by the public policy analyst Chibuzo Okereke. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us and for being patient with us as we went through that update from our correspondent in Port Harcourt, Andy Omano. Let me come to you first of all, Jesutega Onokpasa. As this political drama continues to unfold, how is it being seen in the national corridors of the APC?
Well, it's a PDP crisis. It's a PDP affair. It doesn't really concern our party.
I would beg to disagree, because 27 of the 25, we're told now, of the defectors said they were defecting to the APC. So by extension, the APC has been dragged into this crisis.
Well, we're a political party. We welcome everybody, and to the extent to which they have joined our party, I think that's a separate matter from whatever is from other issues involved in the Rivers crisis. I would just say that even the APC-led government clarified today that it's really strictly a Rivers State affair involving PDP members, not my party is not involved in that crisis at all.
But I mean, I'm going to press you on this, and I'll crave the indulgence of my other guests here. But given the ravaging destruction, or at least the perception of the ravaging destruction that Mr. Wike appears to be wreaking on the PDP, both on the national and state levels, many of his fellow party members would be forgiven for thinking of him as someone who's perhaps fairly unsavory. I mean, is there concern in the APC that if he did cross over, and there's been speculation that he may well be crossover to the APC, especially if the PDP decides that they're going to let him go, he might be an equally destructive force there?
Well, if it's a question, see, that's why I was trying to separate the issues and clarify them. Our party is not involved in whatever is going on in Rivers State. Certainly, our president has no hand in it. Now, as for Wike, a lot of our party members are actually pretty uncomfortable with some of his antics. That's just the bitter truth, you know. Our president called Governor Subara, tried to achieve a settlement between the two parties, and then the next thing we hear, some people are decamping, and there are moves to impeach the governor, and then we woke up one morning, and then a budget is presented. Some people are their seats are declared vacant. The House of Assembly is being demolished. These are really, really, really very, very bad optics. That is just the truth. And I personally am uncomfortable with not a lot of our party members. Maybe they are not, because they've not been coming out to say that much. They are highly uncomfortable with Minister Wike and what are basically his excesses. You are a minister of the Federal Republic, for God's sake. You are not even a member of our party. Our president gave you an appointment. Face your job, for God's sake. Just face the job. Enough of these antics, these excesses. You know, it is for you to have managed your relationship with your godson. If peradventure there is a problem there, if the president calls you and tries to settle the problem between both of you, then even just common decency. I mean, the optics does not look good. Is it that our president is not big enough to give Minister Wike an instruction, go and settle with your son? We are politicians. There is a way politicians approach issues. The president has called you, he's your boss. We don't have two captains in our ship in APC. Maybe they do in PDP. Where there's Atiku here, there's Wike here, there's Obi there, there's whoever somewhere. In our own party, we have just one captain, and our captain is Bola Tinubu, President Bola Tinubu. So a lot of us are really uncomfortable with this. We don't need these distractions for our president. You came from another party, you are part of our government. Please just behave yourself and do the job our president gave you to do, and stop all these distractions. Leave this young man alone. Settle with him and let's get on with life, please.
Well, thank you very much indeed for that opening salvo, Mr. Onokpasa. We will come back to you in a moment because I'd like to get the benefit of your legal interpretation of some of the things that have to do with the law in that crisis in Rivers State. But let me come to you, Mahmood Jega. Thank you very much indeed for your patience. What is your take on all of this?
It's a very terrible development, what is happening in Rivers State. It's such a key state in Nigeria, very populous, very cosmopolitan, the center almost of oil production, and the federal government should be very worried, the president in particular, because the way things are going, unless there is a decisive political and security move to arrest the situation, Rivers State could easily descend into chaos. And if a state like that descends into chaos, nobody can tell what the effect will be on oil production and the export, on the neighbors, and in fact on the whole country. Maybe we were surprised to hear that even some of the leaders of APC are very uncomfortable, but the truth is that in the last 40 years of politics, civilian one in this country, honestly, I cannot personally remember anybody who did what Nyesom Wike is doing now, to be serving as a minister and to engineer such a terrible crisis in the state that you once governed, and to try to throw out the governor through impeachment after only a few months in office. Although I must say that personally, I do not applaud the response of the governor himself, because he is also given to some form of recklessness. For example, getting the judiciary in Rivers State, I don't know how, to say that it is his man who is the legitimate, even though he has only 5 members out of 32, but the judiciary said that he is the authentic speaker. Therefore, he convenes a sitting inside the governor's sitting room, and the governor presents a budget. I mean, it's so laughable. So I am not congratulating Governor Fubara himself for his own methods, and to demolish the State House of Assembly and say that is renovation. How do you renovate? By demolishing the whole thing? And then your faction says they have suspended the chief judge, so that in case the other faction comes with an impeachment motion, there is nobody to collect it and set up a panel to investigate. So honestly, I don't congratulate either of them for his methods.
Okay, thanks for that. Let me come to you, Chibuzo Okereke. Thank you for being patient with us. I mean, you're across these developments. You're somebody who assesses these things across the country, really. What do you think is at the heart of this crisis?
Well, first, I think we are not ready for democracy in Nigeria. If we are ready for democracy, you won't have the situation we have in Rivers. We have another one in Ondo State, which is entirely, another different crisis. You see, in a democracy, legitimacy of government is derived from the people. Our constitution says sovereignty belongs to the people. But it seems the way the political actors, carry their activities that as if nobody exists in the country. Our citizens do not have a say, or they are not even in office to govern anybody. The crisis is quite unfortunate. And let me start from the event that even ignited most of the public issues that we now see today. When the State Assembly moved motion for impeachment, and then there was rumor, rather, that there was going to be an impeachment of the governor. I think that is ignorance on rampage. In the Constitution and even the standing order of the House of Assembly, it is impossible to wake up one morning and impeach a governor. It is a process. And therefore, that rumor alone, allegedly led to the bombing of the State House of Assembly. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. That shouldn't have been, the case. But you see, what is going on now in terms of having the factions, having 5 people saying they are House of Assembly and another 25. In the Constitution, I think Section 109 that talks about defection, actually, of course, gave the Speaker in Section 109 sub 2 the power to maintain the force of law that is provided in Section 109 sub 1, which is that if there is no division in any party and what have you, and they decided to defect, that your seat could be declared vacant. But the question is, who is the authentic Speaker of the State House of Assembly in Rivers State that has that power to declare seat vacant? Now the court has pronounced, it's 5 people, former majority leader is there. These issues are very unfortunate. It can only happen in a state of anarchy. And that is why I asked the question, are we ready for democracy? And like Mr. Jega said, nobody can congratulate people that are fueling crisis in such an important, economically important state in the country. And the parties should immediately, try to resolve this. And let me also disagree briefly with my colleague in the outside studio that this is not about PDP. This is a national crisis that must be solved by all stakeholders. This cannot be restricted to a party because it's giving us bad international, continental, and local image. And we cannot continue to go in this manner.
That's an interesting point. And coming to you, Jesutega Onokpasa, in our off-site studio, just on the back of that assertion that this is a national crisis. Is there an ethnic element to all this, do you think? A tribal element that's creeping in, even if it wasn't there at the outset? Because there have been some strong statements that have emerged in that regard, with some people characterizing this as a struggle for assertive supremacy between the Ikweres and the Ijaws.
Well, I'm always very, very uncomfortable with things being ethnicized or religion being brought into those sort of sentiments. They are totally against my values. Nevertheless, you face reality. Now we have a state in which what is generally referred to as the upland areas have held sway in the state for 24 years. There was Peter Odili, did 8 years. There was Rotimi Amechi, did 8 years. There was then came Minister Wike, who did 8 years. All that time, the people in the riverine areas, the supposedly lowland areas, where they put up with it. Now they have a governor, and in a matter of months, Minister Wike wants to impeach him. Let us tell ourselves some truth. Who is going to tolerate that? Who is going to tolerate that? Nobody will tolerate it. You will certainly have problems in that state. And it's not a question, it's not this one, Wike is giving the impression that he can just sack Fubara, or he will get, and this is what is really riling some of our party members. This notion that Wike supporters are putting out there that the president is on his side and the president is going to declare a state of emergency in Rivers. Please stop that nonsense. Our president is not on Wike's side in this matter at all. At all. Please, that's Wike's headache with his protege, Fubara. You could not manage your protege very well. That is your headache. Don't bring our president into it. There is indeed a sort of ethnicization of it. And that is a very, very big problem. You just have to face that reality. The lowland people, a lot of their allies from across the Niger Delta are not going to sit comfortably for Fubara to just be dumped out of the government house. What Wike should have done, he should have listened to our president. He should have shown maturity. He should have found a more it should have applied some wisdom in trying to achieve a rapprochement with his godson. That is what was expected of him. Now he's behaving as if he's a loose cannon. Our president can't even talk to him. You can't be given you are a minister now, Wike. You are no longer some free agent out there. You are a minister of the Federal Republic. You are an agent of our president. And you came to participate in a government that is formed by our party. We don't behave like this here. Please.
Well, on that advisory note, let's take a short break. And you're watching Arise Prime Time. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our analysis of the political crisis in Rivers State. Stay with us. Welcome back to Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I'm Charles Aniagolu. Now, as the political storm in Rivers State gathers pace, the stage is set for a further showdown between the former governor, now Minister of the FCT, Wike, and the incumbent governor, Sim Fubara. And as the waves become more intense, different factions of the Rivers State House of Assembly have been holding questionable sittings and passing bills, adding to the confusion. And in the midst of all the dubious political deal-making and crossed wires that we've already seen, a further twist as the Rivers State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Professor Zacchaeus Adango, resigned from the cabinet of Governor Sim Fubara, saying he's leaving for personal reasons. But no one apparently really believes that, as speculation mounts that the crisis has claimed another scalp after the defection of more than 24 lawmakers whose seats have been declared vacant. So, with the fire from this quagmire still a long way from burning out, which way will the winds shift? How can this conflict be prevented from deepening? And who will diffuse the dispute? And with me in the studio, assessing that political situation in Rivers State from our off-site studio, the lawyer Jesutega Onokpasa, who is a member of the APC Publicity Committee and was a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, a Rise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper Mahmoud Jega, and the public policy analyst Chibuzo Okereke. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, for staying with us. And let me come to you, Mr. Onokpasa, because you are a lawyer, and I'd like to tap into your legal knowledge here. Let's turn to the matter of those 27 lawmakers, well, 25 now we're told, who defected to the APC, though, as we understand, 2 of them are not really part of it. Are you getting a better sense of the reasons that have been adduced by them as to why they defected and why their action is legally and politically justified?
I'm not familiar with the reasons why they decamped. But frankly, I'm not really that interested in why they decamped or did not decamp. As to the legal implications of their defecting to our party, well, there are arguments out there. There is a court judgment that says that a Supreme Court judgment, for that matter, that gives clearly the implications of defecting and the consequences on a legislator. You know, that said, I think the most important legal consideration there is the meaning of division in a political party. What is the meaning of division? The court says, well, if the party has an ESCO, if it has a registered office, if it's registered with, if it has a headquarters, if it is recognized by INEC, well, it's not divided. You know, some people interpret division to mean we are quarreling in a party. Well, what do politicians do? They quarrel all the time. That's what we do all the time. We quarrel all the time. There is no party where people are not quarreling. They quarrel. Go out, look at PDP. That's the headquarters of quarreling. Look at even Labour. They are even in court. Which party don't we quarrel in our party? We quarrel in our presidential campaign council. We quarrel in the party all the time. Politicians always quarrel. They quarrel in Conservative Party in England. They quarrel in Republican Party. Donald Trump and the Never Trump Republicans. They quarrel in the Democratic Party. The progressives and the moderate Democrats. So if it's just quarreling that means division, I as a lawyer, I don't think so. You know, so that's left for them to sort out with the law. The funny thing, the unfortunate thing that happened in Rivers is that a court happened to recognize, I think his name is Edison Eye, as the legitimate speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Unfortunately, he has the power to declare the seat of someone who defects vacant. You know, so I think the remedy for these people we always welcome people to decamp, but I think just common sense should make you try to figure out whether it's a good time to decamp or not on your own. You know, if not, I will always welcome you. I would love to welcome Fubara to my party. He doesn't have any problem with Bola Tinubu. Not he's loyal. He's President Tinubu's son. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not against him, and I'm not going to take sides with Wike against Fubara. On what basis? Not at all. Even today, when he was talking about his budget, he referenced President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. So I would even love to welcome Fubara to my party. But everybody should know the consequence of decamping. Now, unfortunately, the court recognized the speaker, declared their seats vacant, and they have an option of going to court. That's all I can say about that.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Onokpasa. And let me come to you, Chibuzo Okereke, because you do quite a lot of work in the legal area. What about that provision that I think Jesutega was hinting at there? What about that provision that's in that clause, I think section 109, for divisions within the party as a justifiable reason for them to carpet cross?
Well, I think, like he rightly said, there's a Supreme Court judgment on what a division should mean, and that division must be at the national level. And also, when the lawmakers read out their reason for defecting, they made it clear that their state assembly was burnt down, and that there is no national secretary. They don't know who is the national secretary of their party, the PDP, and that they have not received a single correspondence, and even the ones they sent to the PDP headquarters, they didn't get any response. So in their own estimation, that issue with the office of the National Secretary of the PDP amount to a division in the party and able to make them to defect. But you see, if we go back, a bit, you will realize that at the time, the State Assembly took that resolution to suspend the now recognized speaker by the court. It was a well-constituted assembly. And the law says the assembly had to sit within the precinct of the assembly quarters. Any resolution made by the assembly outside that precinct, except by another resolution to recognize a new place to sit, that resolution will be null. Now, if you go to that section 109 sub G, and 2 of it gave the speaker, what has been happening is that people are cooperating in the State Assembly and the National Assembly, so you have not really seen anybody's seat declared vacant on account of defection. But when there is this crisis, and then the other party quickly ran to the court, and I'll be interested to know what exactly the other faction presented to the court that made the court recognize, a 5-man lawmaker as, being the authentic speaker. So that is, really challenging. And I've made a case that judicial pronouncement could put us in danger if it is not monitored closely, because we have seen a lot of pronouncements that have clear direct nexus to the kind of crisis we are facing in the country, and this should be checked. Yes, there is a problem. If just the governor presented budget within 24 hours, and that budget is passed, scrutinized, all agencies have defended their component of the budget, no, we cannot continue in this manner. And that is why we are calling for peace. But the option that the 25 lawmakers has now, because there is a judicial pronouncement, is to go to court and challenge the declaration of their seat vacant on their account, because the man who declared the seat vacant was already on suspension at the time he proclaimed himself as a speaker. If we want to make progress democratically, we have to respect our laws. We have to respect the Constitution, no matter how imperfect it is at the time. Yeah.
Well, it certainly sounds like an extraordinary mess there, doesn't it, Mahmood Jega? I mean, let's talk about those 4 or 5 members of the House who sat to carry out the business of the House. I mean, everybody is wondering how legally permissible that is. I mean, I know you're not a lawyer, but you've got a lot of journalistic experience, and I often refer to you as an encyclopedia when it comes to going through all the history of sort of legal cases and so on in Nigeria. Because as I understand it, according to the law, for such business to be legitimately transacted and conducted, you need at least a third of the House to be in attendance. That is what forms a legal quorum. What is your take on that?
As you said, I'm not a lawyer, but the trouble is the thing is so murky because the judiciary has the say in interpreting all the laws. Any one of us can read the Constitution and other laws, but a judicial pronouncement is the authoritative interpretation. And if a high court says that this man is the authentic speaker, even though he has only 5 members out of 32, then for now, unless you get a superior court to overturn that interpretation, then I can see the way he will say, well, since he is the authentic speaker, he has declared the seats of 25 or 27 members vacant. Therefore, as of now, the assembly has only 5 members. So the quorum of 25 is probably 2 or 3. But you see, I think the way out, this thing happened in 1999 at the beginning of this republic. There was a serious crisis in the Anambra State House of Assembly that time when Chunwo came by, the Nuju was governor, and members were demonstrating on the street and all that. And the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, that young man, Salisu Buhari, who was later removed, the House of Representatives took over the powers of the Anambra State House of Assembly in order to resolve the crisis. And I think it also happened some years ago in the case of Kogi State. There was a serious division in Kogi State, and the House of Representatives, the lawyers will cite the section that empowers the House of Representatives, but they took over the powers of the Kogi State House of Assembly until the matter is resolved. And even now, I think we should quickly move in that direction. Let the House of Representatives prevent anarchy by taking over the powers of the Rivers State Assembly. So all this passing budget and impeachment and all that cannot go on for now. Although, probably the quickest way to resolve the crisis is in the hands of President Tinubu, to call the Minister of the FCT to order. And he had already done that on a previous occasion. I think 2 weeks ago or so, we heard that the president summoned the minister and the governor. We saw them on television at the State House. Of course, what they discussed and what they resolved was not made public, but there was peace for a few days, which we think was. But then suddenly the whole thing has exploded again. Now it is within the president's moral and security and political power to call the FCT minister and say, look, things cannot be done like this. If you think I'm going to be happy because 20-something members of the State Assembly, because really the minister is not doing this for the good of the president or for the APC or anything. It is for his own. I mean, as he told reporters, he is determined to maintain his political standing. I think he said so very openly that somebody is trying to take away your base. Will you be happy? And all that. But you can't throw a state into chaos and embarrass the federal government and bring the whole countries and its democracy into disrepute in order to maintain your political base. I mean, that's the way I see it.
No, absolutely. That makes sense. Let me come to you, Mr. Onokpasa. We're in the dying moments of the program, so I would appreciate a reasonably brief response to this. I mean, can you see the outlines of a compromise here, a way out of this quagmire?
Well, I don't like predicting the future. What I can say is that I do not see Sim Fubara being removed as governor. He's the duly elected governor of Rivers State. It's a question of Minister Wike trying to settle with him and not causing distractions for the federal government, for his boss, our collective principal, President Tinubu, you know. And this whole idea, this greed, this zero-sum approach to politics is absolutely unacceptable. Wike will control FCT and we control Rivers. I mean, I'm a politician. You have to face politics. What is his plan? Is it that he is trying to gather resources tomorrow to fight Bola Tinubu? I mean, I'm not comfortable with him. A lot of our party members are not comfortable with Wike. Let him just, we supported him to be a minister because he supported Achiwaju. That is why we supported him. It's not our kind of guy from the get-go. But now that you are participating in the government, you are now a part of our crew. And the captain of our ship is President Tinubu, and we only recognize one captain. Don't be driving convoys all the time, making videos. I mean, come on. Please, go leave. Our president has told you, go and settle with this young man. Settle with him. Let him run the state. He's the governor of the state, for God's sake. Do your job. The job of the minister of the federal capital is big enough, is great enough for anybody to be satisfied with. Do the job. There are a lot of problems to solve in the FCT. Go face that one. So I can tell you that I do not see Sim Fubara being removed as governor. That is not going to happen. We do not support that. please. And Wike and his supporters should not keep pushing this narrative that our president is in support of it. Not at all.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. And let me come to you, Chibuzo Okereke, briefly, if you can. Do you see the outlines of a compromise and a way out of this political crisis?
Well, I think a political solution. And I remember the FCT Minister saying that the governor disobeyed the president, which means we don't know what they agreed behind closed doors and which role each of the parties have played. But I submit that it is important that the FCT Minister focuses on the task at hand. He had made a lot of promises of what he's going to do in the FCT. We cannot, and if you watch videos of his statement from the past, you know, he's a guy who delivered in Rivers and was recognized as Mr. Project nationally. He must know that a lot of people admire him because in a country with a dearth of good governance, for somebody to rise to the occasion and provide infrastructure, he got a lot of admirers. So he cannot throw all that away on the altar of political maintenance of a structure. So I think they should sue for peace because they are not the owners of Rivers. There are people who have been governors in Rivers for years, you know, and some of them are still alive today. So this thing is tenured by our law. When you finish your own time is over, you can only do your best, like he alluded in the past, that he has no business in whoever succeeds him, and I want him to keep to his words and support the Rivers development in whatever way he can. Yeah.
And Mahmoud Jega, a final word from you.
Well, as we said, there should be some quick moves to arrest the situation before it degenerates further. And as I was arguing earlier, one way would be tomorrow, the House of Representatives can take over the powers of the Rivers State government. That would be one quick way. But the final solution would have to come probably from the president. He is the one with the authority to call Nyesom Wike to order.
Okay. On that note, I want to thank all of you very much indeed. Mahmoud Jega is a Rise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper. Chibuzo Okereke is a public policy analyst, and in our off-site studio, the lawyer Jesutega Onokpasa, who's a member of the APC Publicity Committee and was a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you very much indeed for that very lively discussion. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and Port Harcourt, bye-bye and thank you for watching.